Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. My bad. You won't tell anybody where I am, will you? I'm hiding from the Kingdom Hearts fans. They can be so mean sometimes. But, while we're here, I'm gonna tell you some of my Kingdom Hearts hot takes. Number 10. The Destiny Island trio is the most expendable trio in the series. And I know that seems pretty outlandish, but hear me out. Okay? So, obviously Sora's the main character, not really expendable, right? That's true. Nomura has gone on record saying that Sora will always be the main character of Kingdom Hearts, and if Sora was not around, then there wouldn't be any more Kingdom Hearts. He said that in an interview. Not word for word, but that is pretty much what he meant. But, so Sora, give or take. But, he is kind of just a blah character. Obviously he has some self-doubt issues and other things like that. He has somewhat of a character arc, you could say, but he is pretty standard main character fare. And, I think most characters in the series that are protagonists could easily be the main protagonist. Sora's pretty unique in his, connecting with everybody. That's kind of his thing. But just as far as a character, anybody could be the protagonist of Kingdom Hearts. So there's that. And then, next up, Riku. Riku has already gone through his character arc. You technically have started in Kingdom Hearts 1, but he started getting better in Chain of Memories, and just ever since then, he's just been climbing up and just succeeding at stuff and getting it done. And becoming a master in Dream Drop Distance was kind of the finish line for him. So he's kind of gotten to where he's headed, and there's not really a whole lot of room for growth for Riku. He's kind of already done it all. He's been there, done that. And Kairi definitely has the most room for growth out of the Destiny Island trio, but because she hasn't had as much screen time, she's definitely important to the plot. She's super important to the plot. She's Princess of Heart. She saved everybody in Kingdom Hearts 3. She's willing to get out there and do stuff, but because she hasn't had a whole lot of screen time, I feel like compared to other characters, were she to just not appear again, I don't feel like she would be as missed as some of the other people. So I just feel like if you add up how much the characters would be missed if the whole trio were to suddenly vanish, I think Destiny Island trio would be the one that people would probably miss the least. Number 9. Recoded is one of the funnest games. You can just feel the fun oozing out of this game. I remember when I played through it, I was just so excited for all the different combat styles, because all the worlds, they played different. You had different types of combat depending on the world you're in. And the Olympus Coliseum world in Recoded was actually life-changing for me, because I've always hated turn-based combat. Couldn't stand it. I would look at people playing turn-based games and I'm like, what are you doing, man? You just wait your turn, hit a button, hit a dude, wait for him to hit you? That's boring. It's boring, man. And then I played Recoded and I loved it. And that's the only reason I've played any of the Final Fantasy games that are turn-based that I've played. Because I tried to play 7, and before that I tried to play 10. And I got partway through the game and I got bored. I dropped the game, turned around, walked away. Didn't come back until after I beat Recoded. And then I was like, you know what? This turn-based stuff, it might be kind of fun. And so then I went and I played Final Fantasy X, and I played Final Fantasy 13 trilogy, and I loved them. And now I'm trying to play all the Final Fantasy games, and I'm having a blast. So, actually, completely changed my opinion on turn-based combat, which you would not expect for a Kingdom Hearts game to be the reason that I played Final Fantasy. Which it makes sense, it's Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy, yada yada, but just because Kingdom Hearts is known for its action combat, and then for it to cause me to play turn-based games is just kind of weird, but it works. It works, and now I can safely say Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy 13 are two of my favorite video games, and I would have never played. But that's also not to diminish the other combat styles that you have in Recoded, because there's also the whole Wonderland, this boss of Wonderland, where it's like a Temple Run run and gun. That's what we'll call it. And that was a whole lot of fun. Some people hate that, but I thought it was pretty fun. And then you got the create your own story once you get to Castle Oblivion. Castle Oblivion. Daffy Duck. This is the wrong crossover. But yeah, you get to Castle Oblivion and it turns into a Telltale game, and that's pretty cool. And you know. The data matrix. The data matrix is really cool. I just talked about Final Fantasy X a while ago. It is kind of just like the Spear Grid, okay? But they're pretty fun, pretty good. You get a good level of customization for your character, and then also the command deck's back in Recoded. And let me tell you, I love the command deck. Hashtag Birth by Sleep, best cage game. Real talk. But yeah, I love the command deck. I'm glad they brought it back for Recoded, and now you have it to where you don't have to meld commands together to be able to use the command, because you just put them above each other, and then the result shows up under, and you can still use the result before you actually meld them. So if you don't want to use the results of melding the two together, then you can just take one of them out, and then you're just going to have the one command, and you can just use that. So you don't even have to meld the commands together to use the melded command. So that's pretty cool. It gives you a lot of utility. Yeah, I just think the combat in Recoded is super fun. It's just a shame that the story is... the story's there, and it is kind of relevant, They do have Maleficent and Pete and their black box shenanigans that carries over into Cage 3 eventually, but, I just think that Recoded is just a fun game that just happens to have a story, and that story just happens to not be super relevant. But, yeah, Recoded, awesome video game. I love it. Not my favorite, but it is up there. Number 8, Acid. My favorite Foreteller. And you might be saying, what? Acid? Dumb Bear Man? Why do you like Dumb Bear Man? I say, he is not a dumb bear man. You watch your mouth. Okay? Okay. Yeah. So, we know from later on parts of Union Cross that the Master of Masters orchestrated the whole Keyblade War shenanigans just to get the Darknesses trapped in the Foretellers so that he could, trap the Darknesses inside the Foretellers. And that is an admirable goal, I suppose, to get rid of the Darkness, but it's still kind of manipulative and schemy and not a great guy thing to do. You know what I'm saying? And Acid is one of the first people to be like, hey, maybe we don't listen to this Master of Masters guy, huh? Maybe he's not here, and maybe if we don't listen to him, then we can do it our way. And I think that's pretty cool. Dumb Bear Man was the first person to be like, yeah, Master of Masters might not be a good guy. And also, he had the meeting, and he's like, okay, Avangula, yo, y'all wanna team up? Y'all wanna team up with me to stop the Darkness? And Gula's like, yeah, I guess I'll do that. And then I was like, nah, I wanna do what the Master said. And even though he's like, the Master might not be the greatest guy in the world, And then I was like, I still want to do what the master said. And then the Sid didn't jump down her throat. He's like, okay, that's what that's what you decide. That's good. That's cool. And the only times the Sid actually gets super mad at somebody, right, is when Envy like goes around behind his back and tries to talk Gula out of it, and when Gula didn't tell them that there was a traitor when he knew there was a traitor, right? So the only time the Sid actually flies off the handle at somebody is if they're sneaking around behind his back, or if they're blaming him on things that he didn't do, right? And so I just think that Aced is like not the stereotypical character that people are putting him out to be. And you know, he does actually respect Ira. Like they actually have a kind of bond and respect for each other, because you see that near the end of back cover, whenever Ira meets him up in the alleyway, and you know he's like, you know, I really respect you and stuff, and we should keep an eye on Gula because he's talking about this lost page and stuff, and I don't know what that is, and I think he's hiding stuff, and that's, you know, makes sense. Makes sense if the end of the world's coming and somebody you find out knew that the end of the world was coming and didn't say something about it, then, you know, maybe you should be suspicious of them. Which we know Gula, that's what he was supposed to do in the first place, but it's, you know, it's logical. It's not dumb. It's the thing that you would think someone would do, and I think that's pretty cool. Numero 7. I'd enjoy a Kingdom Hearts turn-based game. I said it. I was just talking about this with Recoded a while ago, but now that I've played some turn-based games, I think that you can make a really interesting Kingdom Hearts game with turn-based combat, which I know right now it's a whole thing, because Final Fantasy 16 just came out not too long ago, and everyone was flipping their lids. They're like, Final Fantasy's always been turn-based. Why are you making it an action game now? And I'm like, bruh. I love action combat. I'm glad that they did it. But it's not a bad idea to mix it up every once in a while, you know? And so I think Kingdom Hearts should reach over and take a page from the Final Fantasy book and cross the aisle just once. It don't have to be a mainline game. Don't do it for Cage 4. Don't do it for Cage 5. Just take a side game that people always say is a side game. We all know there's no side games in Kingdom Hearts, but you take a Kingdom Hearts game that is considered to be a side game, and you do a turn-based combat on that game. And I think it would be really cool, because I know we've already had Union Cross and Dark Road, and they're kind of turn-based, not really. Well, I mean, Dark Road is like ATB, kind of, if you had to put a category to it. But Union Cross had the medals, and so it was the most turn-based outside of the Olympus Coliseum and Recoded that we've gotten. But, you know, and I think that a big draw for me for combat is being able to play as multiple characters. So one of the reasons Birth by Sleep is my favorite game. And I think that having a KH turn-based game, you would be able to choose the abilities for like Donald and Goofy and your party members and stuff. And I think it just makes for like an overall more cohesive gameplay experience. That, not to say that a turn-based game is automatically more, you know what I'm saying. I just think it would be cool to be able to kind of play as Donald and Goofy. And I feel like if you did a Cage turn-based game, then that would be the thing, is that you would pick all the characters' moves and stuff. And we've never really done that. You've had the, back to Recoded again, you do have the bit at the end where you're like, tell Donald and Goofy to attack because Sora doesn't have the Keyblade at Hollow Bastion. And so that was pretty cool. But I just think that it would be cool to like have your Kingdom Hearts characters and have them have like an ability list, and you go down and be like, hey Goofy, do Goofy Tornado on this Soldier Heartless. And I'm like, yeah, Goofy, do it. Goofy, you just do the Goofy Tornado. And I don't know, I think it'd be cool. I think it would be cool, they should do it. Give me a turn-based Kingdom Hearts game. Why not? Alright, number 6. Marvel and Star Wars can be in Kingdom Hearts, no problem. And I say this, I know a lot of people are Disney animation purists. They're like, Kingdom Hearts is Disney and Final Fantasy, you know, that's what it is. But Kingdom Hearts 3 had Pixar, right? So we've already done that. And Dream Drop Distance had The World Ends With You. That's not Final Fantasy. It's pretty cool. It's not Final Fantasy. I love The World Ends With You. And so I think that the whole thing about Kingdom Hearts is being inclusive. You know, it's like, you know, you're friends with everybody in Kingdom Hearts, right? Why can't we be friends with Luke Skywalker and Tony Stark? Huh? You're gatekeeping my friendships, okay? I want to be friends with Luke Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi and Spider-Man, huh? You gonna stop me from making friends with them? That's not very Kingdom Hearts-like of you, huh? And the whole concept of Kingdom Hearts is ridiculous in the first place, right? This Disney meets Final Fantasy. Before Kingdom Hearts was a thing, if you told someone that they were going to make a video game with Disney and Final Fantasy, they would think you were crazy. So you can't actually get more crazy. I mean, it's possible to get more crazy, but it feels crazy to gatekeep something from Kingdom Hearts because the premise is already ridiculous. So at that point, if you're gatekeeping something out of my franchise that is owned by the company, that is being worked on the franchise for, then I just think that's silly. I think it's silly to keep Iron Man out of my fun video game because I like Iron Man and I like Sora and I want them to meet. Okay? Okay. Done. Number 5. Nobodies regrowing hearts. It was foreshadowed and it was there all along. I know a lot of people that when it happened in Dream Drop Distance, when Xemnas and Zigbar were having their whole thing with Sora, they're like, we do too have hearts. We regrew them. It was a matter of time. And then people were like, that's a plot hole. That's a retcon. And then I'm like, people, you don't remember that one time all the way back in Chain of Memory was when Axel was all like, wait a minute, I'm enjoying this. You guys are something else. You don't remember that? You don't remember that time when Vixen got exploded by Axel and he was all like, no, I don't want to know. You remember that time when Demix was on his knees in Hall of Ash and he was like, no way! Or that time when Larkstein was like, I can't lose to a bunch of losers. These people have always had emotion. I can't say always, because at some point they didn't have their hearts and they had to regrow them, right? But from what we've seen, they have been very emotional. And we've on multiple occasions seen Roxas cry, we've seen Axel cry, we've seen Xion be very sad. I don't actually think Xion's cried. She might have cried that one time, whenever she was upset about Riku calling her a sham. That's a good reason to cry. But my point being, we've seen these people be emotional and have emotions and cry and care about things the whole series, and then suddenly we get to Dream Drop Distance and someone's like, wait, they have hearts? That's a retcon. Retcon! I'm throwing out the little yellow flag. No, I don't like it. Like, no. It's been there the whole time, you just didn't see it. You just gotta put your plot glasses on. Like, not the rose-tinted nostalgia ones, but like the, oh wait, I'm actually looking at this. This makes sense. No, it's there the whole time, you just didn't see it. Number 4. Another Dream Drop Distance one, actually. Time travel. I know people that are all up in arms about time travel ruined the series. Dream Drop Distance made the plot too complicated. No, it didn't. And I'm not even saying that something before that made it too complicated. I'm saying that Kingdom Hearts is not too complicated. Now that's a bold statement. But it's what I'm sticking with because it's true. It's true. Okay? The whole thing with time travel, the reason people think time travel is complicated is because they think they have to understand how it works. And I'm not saying the logistics of how it works, because that's actually understandable. You know, it's magic. It's magic. You time travel through magic. Now, time traveling Union Cross, that's technology based. And you can, it's a machine that sends you to the future. Okay? That's pretty straightforward. And then Dream Drop Distance, he learned magic that can send him to the future. It's pretty straightforward, isn't it? It's pretty understandable. Got it memorized. No, Xehanort just learned how to time travel. That's not complicated. You know, he just, I'm right here. Now I'm in the future. And, you know, there's nothing to it. He just time travels, grabs his organization buddies, and now they're in the future. That's, you know, it's pretty straightforward. I don't get it. What's the confusion? I don't know. I've never understood people's obsession with time travel being complicated. I feel like they're trying too hard to make it complicated. But that's that. Number 3, Terra is my favorite character. Now, this one might not be as much of a hot take as it used to be, because I know people used to rag on Terra a lot, but I feel like a lot of people playing Birth by Sleep, they think that they're not looking at it from the characters' perspectives. Because, of course, you know these characters are evil. You've seen Maleficent turn into a dragon and fight Sora. You might have even watched Sleeping Beauty. So you know Maleficent's not a good person. Right? But the characters don't know that. They're just going about their own business. Oh, there's this lady with horns. Maybe she's going to a costume party. How do you know? Right? So, like, you can't judge Terra for not judging someone before they do anything, because until they've done something wrong, he doesn't do anything, and then the moment they do something wrong, he's like, oh, well, you're a bad guy. Okay? So, that's completely understandable. Makes all the sense in the world. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have Aqua, who's like, oh, this person might be evil, let me kill him. So, I think that people need to take a step back and be like, okay, this makes sense. I know they're evil. They don't know they're evil. And, you know, Xehanort, like, that's a whole other can of beans, because Xehanort, like, he tricked everyone, right? Xehanort is like, oh, Ericus, I know we argued in the past and I gave you a star and stuff, but, you know, I'm good now, and I think that you should do tests for your pupils to see if they can be Keyblade Masters. Right? And, you know, if anything, you blame Ericus because Ericus has seen Xehanort do some stuff, you know, but at the same time, he wants to give him the benefit of the doubt because he wants to be friends, right? So, you can't blame Ericus too much, but if you blame anybody, you blame Ericus. You don't blame Terra. Terra's not seen Xehanort before beginning to work by sleep. Well, when he comes and brings Ventus, that's the first time Xehanort and Terra probably met, right? Because Xehanort writes that in his letter to Ericus a couple years back. I saw your pupils, yada yada. So that's probably the first time Xehanort and Terra met, was when Xehanort brought Ventus, right? So Xehanort has only seen, Terra has only seen Xehanort save Ventus from the darkness, presumably. That's the only thing he's seen him do. and all he's heard from Erica is, oh, he's my friend, right? So you have no reason to distrust Xehanort until he actually does something. And then whenever he does do something, he has a reasonable explanation for it. He's like, oh yeah, the Vanitas, I ripped the darkness out of Ventus's heart. That makes sense. You know, in Kingdom Hearts land, ripping the darkness out of someone to make them a better person is, you know, probably ethically questionable, but if you're doing it for the sake of light, people will believe it, right? And so I think that actually the whole, you know, light good, darkness evil makes Xehanort seem like an even better person, because you're like, oh, he did it for the sake of the light, right? So that's even more of a reason to trust Xehanort. And I just think that, you know, every time someone thinks that Terra gets tricked, like, runs into Hades, and everyone's like, oh, it's the blue flame dude, you know, from Hercules, he's evil. And, you know, Terra doesn't immediately trust him. You don't remember him looking like, yeah, I got it. He's very short with him. He doesn't trust him. He gives him the side eye, right? And then whenever Hades does do something, he's like, ah, you tricked me. I knew it, right? He's like, Hades, you were just playing. And that was not a surprise, you were. It was I knew it, I was just waiting to know for sure. That's what that was, right? And then you had the queen from Snow White, and she's all like, go put Snow White's heart in this box, right? Terra wasn't gonna do that. He had the whole monologue after that. It's like, but what if I actually do it? He wasn't gonna do it. He just didn't want to fight this lady for no reason, you know? Can't say for no reason. He was asking, she was asking him to do something bad, right? But like he said when he ran into Maleficent the first time, he's all like, I'm a peacekeeper, not a tyrant. So he's like, I'm just going to these worlds. I don't get to decide what the rules are. I can decide if I think you're a bad person, but it's not my job to kill you, right? What's he gonna do? Like, his only option, he's got two options. Either kill the queen or get Snow White to safety. And he tries to do one of those things, right? He's out there with Snow White, he runs into her, and then he's like, don't go in the woods alone. She goes and run away, right? So he took the other approach. You have two options. Kill the queen, save Snow White. He tries to save Snow White. She runs into the woods alone anyway, right? So, and then Jumba. You run into Jumba in Deep Space World, and then the whole thing's like, he broke someone out of prison. Yeah, you know who else teamed up with someone right after they broke out of prison? Sora in Kingdom Hearts 2. You can't judge Terra for helping people when it's the first person he meets, right? When all this time, Sora trusts the first person he meets, and that's Hunky Dory because he just happens to meet the good guys first, right? And so Jumba, he breaks Jumba out of jail, but you know what? He just broke out of jail himself, right? You're like, oh, well, if I was put in this jail cell just because I was unconscious and they didn't know what I was, then maybe other people have been wrongfully put in jail too, huh? Maybe. Like, there's proof. I am the proof, right? So I think that you can't, like, it makes sense. So, you know, people are like, oh, Sora trusted Hades when he first met him in KH1. Hades gives him the card to enter the tournament, and the Sora's like, oh, thank you, Mr. Fire Hair Man, for giving me a pass. And, you know, that's okay, because Sora didn't immediately judge Hades right there. So I'm not going to say anything, because even though Terra did, he was like, oh, well, this guy might be evil, so I'm going to be hesitant, but I'm going to hear him out, right? KH1 Sora, trust Hades. KH2 Sora, trust Jack, who is both a pirate like Captain Hook, and someone who just broke out of prison like Jumbo, right? Can't judge Sora for trusting Jumbo or Hook, right? So there's all these situations where Terra does things, and then people are like, ugh, Terra's stupid. And then you go back and look, you're like, oh wait, Sora did that too, and I didn't say anything. So like you have to take a step back and look at it and be like, okay, this makes sense. In universe, these characters wouldn't know these things. I think people give Terra way too hard a time. He's actually smart. Like, he actually sits back and thinks through things. Like, if he was dumb, then he would be like, hey, you just told me to kill Snow White. I'm gonna tell you that I just found out that you're evil, right? But he doesn't. He's like, that would have set her off, and then she would have had time to be like, oh, well, now he knows that I have evil intentions, I should do something, right? But no, he doesn't let her know that he's onto her, and then he does something about it himself, right? So, you can't judge Terra for things and then turn around and be hunky-dory with Sora, okay? Because they've done similar things, and it's just all of the circumstance, and I would say Terra is actually smart, right? So, there's that. Number 2, the non-numbered Kingdom Hearts games are more important to the plot than the numbered ones. I will say that with a straight face, and I think it's really funny because of how many people are like, yeah, I played Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, let me go play KH3, right? That's crazy, because I would say that probably the 3 most important games to the plot, right? Union Cross, Birth by Sleep, Dream Drop Distance. If you were to play only 3 Kingdom Hearts games, those are the 3 that would get you the greatest understanding of the plot. If you play Union Cross, Birth by Sleep, and Dream Drop, those have the most plot in them. I wouldn't say the most plot. I would say the most comprehensive view of the plot that has happened. Because Dream Drop has the whole recap of all the other games, right? But also, just Xehanort is the main villain, right? So, obviously, things where Xehanort is in are going to be really important because that's the villain, right? So, Old Man Xehanort automatically makes those games more important to the lore. And then Union Cross, just for how much world building and how much stuff way back in the timeline that is going to be relevant in the future, right? So, I would say those are the 3 most important games to the plot. If you could only play 3 games, right? Because the numbered games, they're pretty straightforward. It's like Sora goes through, he goes through the Disney worlds. He fights a version of Xehanort at the end. That's standard fare for a numbered KH game. But then, like, the actual world building and big plot stuff happens in the non-numbered ones. And so, I think those are actually percentagely? If you were to give a percentage to it, I would say, like, 70-30, right? 70-30 ratio, non-numbered to numbered games for the plot. Which it is kind of crazy, because people automatically assume, like, oh, this is a numbered game, it must be really important. They are kind of important, but the non-numbered ones, way more, right? Okay. Revenge value. Hi. We've gone through this whole video of me telling you my Kingdom Hearts hot takes. This is the one that people are gonna never talk to me again for this one because, oh boy, there are some staunch KH2 defenders out there. I don't hate Kingdom Hearts 2. It is a very good video game. I do feel like it is somewhat overhyped. It is the Frozen of video games, where everybody loves Kingdom Hearts 2. Everybody talks about Kingdom Hearts 2. And so eventually, it starts to get boring. It's like, oh, well, that's... What's your favorite Kingdom Hearts game? Kingdom Hearts 2. Oh, okay. There's nothing there. It's not to say there's nothing to Kingdom Hearts 2, but, that's a pretty middle of the line, like, that's your basic... That's your Starbucks answer. Like, it's like I don't know, that's, people default to Kingdom Hearts 2. Like, if they don't have time to think and someone asks them what their favorite Kingdom Hearts game is, oh, this is Kingdom Hearts 2, that's obviously the best one. But what I'm here to say is that the way that bosses work in Kingdom Hearts 2 is not for me. It's not for me personally, because of revenge value. That's what this whole point's about. Because of the way that it works, when you get an opening on a boss in Kingdom Hearts 2, right? And, you know, you hit the boss, you're gonna hit them a certain amount of times, and then they're gonna retaliate, right? So you can do the whole thing in your head and be like, oh, wait, I hit him once, twice, 3, 4. Okay, I've done 2 combos on him, so now he's gonna get out, right? I think that's boring, right? I think that's brain dead, and it's boring, and especially on repeat playthroughs, because the whole thing is, it's in here. You're memorizing the fight, you're not reacting to the fight. You're going into it, and you already know what's gonna happen. Which, for a speedrunning and competitive play, that's great. That's fine. It's good for you if you like that. Okay. But for me, as a reactionary gamer, someone who likes to go into my boss fight and watch the boss and be like, okay, he just pulled his sword back, he's probably about to hit me, right? That's more my style. That's why I prefer Birth by Sleep. I like Dream Drop Distance and, you know, the Dark Souls way, right? Where, you know, the bosses have tails for their attacks, and you're watching for the signs, right? You're not counting numbers, okay? That is the point I'm trying to make here, because I've tried to have this conversation before. I've tried to have it where I was talking to people, and I'm like, yeah, I don't like revenge value. I think it makes bosses predictable, right? You go into it, and you're counting the attacks. You're not watching for the attacks, right? That is the point that I'm trying to make, is that I'm not a fan of revenge value. Right? I know it's also in KH3, right? Because the beginning of this point turned into a, you know, KH2 rant, which was not the intention, but, you know, it's not as much of a problem to me in Kingdom Hearts 3 because there's not a whole lot of humanoid bosses. And when there are, there's multiple of them, so there's more stuff going on, right? But, yeah, I don't like the revenge value system a whole lot, and, you know, I hope that helps people understand a little bit where I'm coming from, because I know a lot of people get really defensive about KH2, and if someone says something even remotely, you know, questioning its way of doing things, then people will, you know, will jump down your throat. But, and I'm sure you won't. You're a nice person, right, dear viewer? But yeah. But those have been my top 10 Kingdom Hearts hot takes. If I'm not kicked off of the internet, then I'll see you next time.